what's up you guys, the Curious Owl here, and today I have my December D20 TBR. So this month is a very special month because this is the first time we will be doing the D20 TBR where there is only one book on my D20 TBR to be read in the entire month. Now, I don't think I've necessarily gone over some of the rules when it comes to what will happen if I get down to the last book within my D20 TBR. So I'm going to go quickly through some of the more normal rules so that I can then explain what kind of this month is going to be about and what could be at stake for the beginning of 2022. Also, please excuse if I end up slurring my words at some point. I have a sore on the side of my tongue that sometimes runs across my teeth and it really bothers me. It's basically just a canker sore, it's nothing major, but every now and then it catches on the sides of my teeth and it freaking hurts like hell. So I apologize if my speech does get slurred at some point. It is because I'm trying to not hit this stupid canker sore on my tongue. The process of D20 goes where the prompts are picked off of a wheel, starting out with picking 5 prompts for 5 different books to read in the month. Now, if I was to finish all of those books within the month, I would then be able to knock down a prompt, therefore knocking down a book off of the TBR for that next month. So when I started this, I started with 5 books for the month that I started the prompt building, which I think was like September, maybe August, something like that. And consistently for the last several months, I've been able to read all of the D20 books. Now, D20 books can be basically involved with anything. They could have been books that were part of my Stephen King reading series at the time that I was going to try to read already during the month, or they could have been parts of reread series or other series I was starting. So for instance, I had several of the Dark Tower books inputted for different prompts within this if they fit the prompt well, and they won in the game of higher or lower we do with the D20 die. Now, essentially the idea, like I said, is that if you complete all of the books within that month, then you can knock off one prompt for the next month. If you don't read all of those books, or at least start those books by the end of that month, then you would have to add a prompt to the next month. So essentially the idea now going forward is if I can complete the one book that I have for D20 for this month, I will get to completely mood read the entire month. I get to pick whatever I want in terms of reading. I don't have to fulfill any prompts. I don't have to meet any challenges or anything that I don't already want to make for myself. This is basically going to work out super well in my favor too, because in January, we are going to be hosting the next round of Battle of the Bookish, which is the readathon I have been hosting with my friends Adri and Liv for the last several years, going on I think 4 years or so. Now, this is super exciting because with the Battle of the Bookish, there are prompts for our teams and for the general readathon that I would like to try and pick as much as I can for. There's going to be anywhere between 6 to 8, maybe 10 prompts that we're going to be picking from that I would like to have so much space open in the month of January to pick whatever I choose to for that month. The day that I'm actually filming this is November 27th, and by the time I have been filming this, I have completed my D20 prompts for the entirety of November. I only had 2 prompts to complete for November, and I completed both of them, which is why we're going through this right now. Now, I am basically going to pick one prompt off of my wheel of prompts, and I'm gonna, like normal, pick 2 books that I think either will fit the prompt, but one might not be so intriguing as the other, or I'll have a book that fits the prompt and another book that doesn't necessarily fit that prompt. The idea with this is that the game of higher or lower is going to determine what is the last book I have for D20 to complete. Let's hope it's not a chunker, but knowing me, even if it's a prompt that does not involve a large book, I am going to pick a large book just for the hell of it as something that I wouldn't necessarily want to read, and by my freaking luck, I will end up having to read that gigantic book. I'm speaking it into existence, so let's pray to some god out there that it does not happen. But without further ado, let's get into the only prompt I need for December 2021's D20 TBR. All right, so we got the wheel pulled up. Let's see what our prompt for December of 2021 is. And we get the prompt, adult. So this is any book that is considered in the adult range. Now for this, I think I'm gonna pick an adult book versus maybe more of a young adult, because I actually have two books in particular that are in mind that I think will fit this very well, because they're already books I was hoping on getting to in December as it is. So no matter which one ends up winning, I'm gonna kill two birds with one stone, and I think you guys can guess what one that's going to be. Okay, so for this one, I don't have the book physically here. I'm gonna have to see if either I can get it on Scribd or if I can get it from my library. But what we have put against each other for the adult category is Christine by Stephen King. Y'all might have known this was coming if you've been paying attention to my Stephen King reading series. Currently, I am working on the anthology collection of different seasons. I am about 150 pages in. I don't think I'm going to get through this one, which is also then why I'm going to be putting Shadowkissed on here, which is my third read for my Vampire Academy reread/finish series, and I was going to be reading this in November, but I'm pretty much certain that I'm not going to be able to get through different seasons before the end of the month, so I'm pushing this one off to December. So, like I said, no matter which one ends up winning this round, I'm going to be happy because at the very least, they will both get read in the month, and it's just a matter of which one do I read before the other. Likely, whatever one wins, I will read before the other, because it's going to be the only D20 book I need for the month. So, let's see what ends up happening. D20, do your thing. And we have a natural 1. Oh, God, I hate that. At least this is the only thing I have this month. But a natural 1 means that we go with the left option, which means Christine is going to be the book for the D20 roll this month, which is fine by me, like I said, because it's going to be something I was planning on reading anyway, and I'm actually kind of excited because I've heard Christine is one of the fan favorites of Stephen King, so I'm fairly certain that I'm going to enjoy this one. Awesome. That is super simple. That makes things a lot easier for this month. Christine is going to be the D20 book for the month of December. Like I said, super simple. Basically, the only thing is that I'm going to have to make sure that different seasons gets finished up in the next few days, or at least the very beginning of December, which isn't too much of a feat because I did read almost 100 pages worth of this during my work breaks doing reading sprints. So I think if I can get a huge chunk of this done tomorrow, which is Sunday, and then get through, you know, maybe the last of it in the last couple days of November, I can start December off with Christine and kind of go from there. But let's get into the rest of the books I do plan on reading in the month of December. The first of which being, like I said, Shadowkissed by Rochelle Mead, the third book in the Vampire Academy series. I have been wanting to read this because I've been doing a reread/finish series of this. I haven't picked it up as of yet because I've been in a bit of a reading slump for the majority of November. I don't know how I was able to get through the 2 books I needed to for November, but I did. But it did put me in a bit of a reading slump, so that's why I've been kind of slogging through different seasons, and I think that what's going to be great is once I can finish this and kind of get back to this world, I'm going to enjoy it because Vampire Academy and Frostbite were really easy for me to fly through in the entirety of them. Like, it only took me maybe a few days to go through both books, so I'm fairly certain Shadowkiss is going to be pretty much the same. With that, I would also like to be able to read the 4th book, which is Blood Promise. Now, if I can actually remember correctly, like I had misremembered before, Shadowkiss was where I left off with the Vampire Academy series when I first read it in high school, and so I never got through the last 3 books. The first being Blood Promise. So Blood Promise is going to be a brand new experience for me, and I'm a little scared because remembering what happens at the end of Shadowkiss really tore through me, and so I'm only feeling like I'm gonna hate everything in the world when it comes to Blood Promise. I'm just really scared because of the one character I know that does not fare well at the end of the 3rd book. I really hope he ends up doing okay, but I'm also convinced that he's not going to be. Another book I would also like to read that's also going to get me kind of caught up with my Stephen King reading series is also going to be Pet Sematary. So I would like to read both Christine and Pet Sematary this month, and Pet Sematary, I remember watching the original movie eons ago. Like, I watched it with a friend of mine who was getting me into watching horror movies when I was in high school, and I remember very vividly how creeped out I was by that movie alone, and I've heard that people say that the book is fairly different in a lot of ways, so I'm curious to see like what my thoughts are of the book and whether or not I would be willing to rewatch the older movie and then see the newer one that had just come out within the last handful of years. I want to say maybe 2019 or 2020 it came out. I don't remember off the top of my head, but I do remember that the newer movie was kind of hit or miss for a lot of people. So I'm curious to see what your guys' thoughts are of it if you've read Pet Sematary and watched both the old movie and the new one, because I don't really know what the general consensus is. I've just heard that it's kind of, hit or miss with some people in general. In addition to that, I would like to maybe get to these other books. I've been planning on getting through the Wheel of Time series by Robert Jordan because of the fact that the TV show has just been released on Amazon here within the last couple of weeks. But considering how very lukewarm I was about the prequel novel New Spring, and even though I have had people tell me in the comments of that video that you should wait to read New Spring until you've got through a few books in the series, I think that the overall story of New Spring was really, really resonating for me to the point where I was interested to reread it so that I could go into The Eye of the World a little bit clearer, because there were some things about New Spring that I was a little hesitant to remember because I felt like I kept forgetting things. And I even said in the review that there were some things specifically about land that I was not super familiar with. And so I feel like in order to get into The Eye of the World a little easier, even though I know people have told me to wait to read this until you've got through like a handful of books in the series, I would like to reread New Spring, then read The Eye of the World for the second time in a couple of years, because I don't remember much of what happens in this book and I would like to watch the TV show. But I would also then like to maybe read the second book, The Great Hunt, because I have heard that the series gets a lot better the further you get in the series. And I've heard that The Great Hunt is actually what a lot of people consider their favorites when it comes to the Wheel of Time. At least people I know personally that have read it, or other booktubers I know that have read it. I've heard that The Great Hunt is a pretty well received second installment in a series. So those three I would like to maybe get through this month, but they're kind of on a lower tier when it comes to the books I would like to read. If anything, I would really like to make sure that I get different seasons done, read Christine, and then read through the 2 Vampire Academy books. Those are like top priority. And then these are kind of like, if I still have time in the month, I would like to start getting through some of this and see where I end up in January, and maybe get at least one of these books in January if I can't get it in December. However, if I can get through all of these along with the rest of the books I have for this TBR in December, I will then try to pick up the next book, the third book in the series, for my TBR in January, and hopefully try to get it in with my Battle of the Bookish TBR. So those are all the books I am planning on reading in December. Again, most high priority are finishing different seasons, hopefully before the end of November. We'll see how that happens. I'll let you guys know in my November wrap up what exactly happens with that. By the time this video goes out, that video will probably already have been up. So make sure to check that out if you would like to see if I ended up actually completing different seasons in the month. And I will be having a review out for that as well in the month of December. But other than that, obviously the high priority is getting Christine done, as that is part of my D20 TBR, and then the next high priority books are going to be the Vampire Academy books. And also Pet Sematary somewhere in there. I would like to try to get through that one as well, just because I've heard so many people say that it's really good for them. And again, I'm trying to play a little bit of catch up with my Stephen King reading series in a sense, but those 4 are basically what I would like to make sure for sure I get done before the end of the year. And then these 3 are just kind of gravy if I can get through them, but they're not like super high priority. They're kind of just wish fulfillment if I can get them done. So that is all I have for this month. Thank you guys so much for joining me in this video. If you guys did enjoy it, please do give it a big thumbs up. And if you haven't already and you'd like to be, I would like to see more content like this, go ahead and hit that button down below and subscribe to become an owlet in our flock. And I will see all of you guys in my next video. Bye guys!